Hello! Welcome back to Harry Has a Cocktail, episode 13. As you can see, here's the reappearance of the t-shirt that my husband Sean bought for me when I turned 50. And I wore it today because I'm gonna go ahead and make a slightly different kind of martini than I have made before here on the program. Most of the time, people now drink vodka martinis, but the original martini was gin. I prefer a gin martini, as many of my viewers know. I just got a new bartender's guide book. It's actually a new version of an old book, which is the Mr. Boston Deluxe Official Bartender's Guide. I got it on Amazon for like $5 or something, I think. This is what people use for a long, long time. It was the quintessential book for people to use in America for mixing drinks. It's just fantastic. I mean, it just has every single recipe you could ever want. Here we have a whole chapter devoted to the martini. A little background. Though the martini is viewed with almost reverent awe as a drink of unique power, it is no more or less powerful than any other drink containing the same amount of alcohol. Nice way to take away the magic there. The original martini recipe called for 1/2 dry gin and 1/2 dry vermouth. Half and half. Think about that. This proportion began to change in the early 1940s to 2 or 3 parts dry gin to 1 part dry vermouth, which sounds a little bit more of like what I like to drink. Today, popular proportions for an extra dry martini range from 5:1 to an 8:1 ratio. The greater the proportion of gin to vermouth, the drier the martini. So the greater the proportion of gin to vermouth, the drier the martini. So the less vermouth you use, the drier it is. And here's a little extra tidbit too that I never knew. Are your martinis too strong? Remember, America is nearly the only country in the world that drinks high-proof gin. Which makes sense. We're just we're just a bunch of drunks. The British, who perfected gin, and the Canadians prefer their gin at milder, smoother 80 proof gin. To make martinis that are extra dry but not extra strong, use 80 proof gin. This goes on to give a bunch of different recipes for old style recipes for a bunch of different kinds of martinis. Martini traditional 2:1, dry martini 5:1, extra dry 8:1. Then there's a sweet martini, a medium martini. What they're calling a medium martini in this guide is what I'm going to make today that I have been taught is called a perfect martini. When I first got back a few weeks ago, I think it was episode 11, I made a perfect Manhattan. And essentially a perfect martini is the same thing except you're using gin. Let me show you what goes into a perfect martini. So here we are going to use Gordon's gin. This is London dry gin. So if this book is correct, then this proof is going to be, this is 80 proof gin. So it makes sense that I like Gordon's. I mean, Gordon's is just one of those just like good old standbys. I should use a British accent when I'm using my Gordon's gin. This is Gordon's gin, London dry gin, 100% grain neutral spirits, 80 proof, which is 40% alcohol. It's a lot of alcohol. So what we're going to do is we are going to use 3 ounces of Gordon's gin, 1/2 ounce of dry vermouth, and 1/2 ounce of sweet vermouth. We are also going to use a dash of bitters. Now, bitters, as you know, I'm a big fan of bitters, and bitters are huge right now in the cocktail world. You can make your own bitters. Someday, maybe I'll do that. Don't really have time right now since I'm playing God in a show. Don't ask. Or you could ask, actually, if you wanted to. I'm doing a play called An Act of God at Bucks County Playhouse. We start performances May 18th, and it runs through June 16th, so buy your tickets, Bucks County Playhouse. A lot of times people only think of bitters, that you add bitters to something like a Manhattan, with an alcohol that's brown instead of an alcohol that's clear, but that's what's so nice about this. It like just changes the whole feel of your martini. So that's that. And we're also going to use, the garnish is going to be a lemon peel. We're going to make it in a shaker. I would say that probably a perfect martini is something that's suitable to me because I've always pictured myself as a bit of a perfectionist, which is not really one of my strong attributes. I mean, I suppose It helps in terms of, you know, wanting to do things correctly. But of course, if things don't go the way I want them to, I'm like a crazy person. I'm gonna go ahead and do the lemon wedge in advance. So I've been in rehearsals for about just under 2 weeks now for An Act of God, and everything is going very well. The two other actors in the show are Joe Kanosian and Ashley D. Kelly. They are fantastic. They play my archangels, Gabriel and Michael. You should really come see it. It's really, I think it's going to be really good. I mean, I usually don't like self-promote a lot, but I think this one's really good. If you're in Bucks County is in Pennsylvania, which is a small town, it's like this big, called New Hope, Pennsylvania. Apparently a lot of people from New Jersey go there, a lot of people from Philadelphia go there, and it's only about 90 minutes away from New York City. So come check it out. Okay, so first I'm going to fill my shaker with ice. Now there is some debate about ice and whether you should put the ice in first or you should put the alcohol in first. I have a tendency to put the ice in first. In fact, in the Mr. Boston Guide, it does say the ice should be dry and hard frozen, and you fill the martini pitcher. Now, this is saying that we should make this in a mixing glass. Some people like their martinis stirred, some people like them shaken. It's just your personal preference. There is a difference, I must say. When you stir them, the mouthfeel of the drink is a bit softer. There's more cracked ice when you shake it that can get into the drink, and it creates just a slightly different texture. When you shake it, it feels a little bit more watery. Not watery. I shouldn't say watery. That feels gross, but not as robust as one that's stirred. It's just your personal preference. But I encourage you, like, try both. Do some stirred, do some shaking, and see what you like better. But here this says here that you put the cracked, not crushed, ice in and pour in the dry gin first, and the gin should smoke as it settles over the cold ice, which is exactly why I like to put the ice in first. So we are using my own little recipe here. It's not exactly the same as it is in this book, but as you can see from that guide, people have been changing the way they like to drink their drinks for years, and so you should just go with your personal preference. If you like more gin, add more gin. If you like less vermouth, add less vermouth. Whatever. Do whatever you want to do. So I am putting my ice in, and I always say, the more ice, the better. You should use a shit ton of ice. So here we go. We are going to use 3 ounces of gin. 1.5, 3. This jigger is 1.5 on this side, so I put it in twice, and that equals 3. 1.5 and 1.5 is 3. 1/2 ounce of dry vermouth. 1/2 ounce of sweet vermouth. And a few dashes of Angostura bitters. Doink doink. Shake it for as long as it feels really cold. Okay, that was probably about 30 seconds. I like to really shake the heck out of my martinis. As you can see, there's a nice little film of ice on the outside. It's gonna be fantastic. So, then we are going to get a chilled martini glass. Ooh, it's so chilly. And then strain the martini into the glass. And you can see, it's a lovely sort of orange color. Fantastico. Now, with our twist, we literally twist it. Don't forget, you twist it. And when you twist it, you can even smell it a little bit. It's fantastic. It kind of releases the oils in the twist. And you just drop, and sometimes what people do is they run the twist over the rim, just so it gives a nice little flavor along the rim, and then you drop it in. And I'm gonna taste it. So good. I've been rehearsing so hard, and I really, really need this. It's so delicious. It's just, it's so hard to describe. It has a really nice, I don't know. If you like sweet vermouth and you like a Negroni, it's Negroni-esque because you have there's like a wine quality, which makes sense because vermouth is wine, a fortified wine, aromatic wine, aromatized wine. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, and so it gives it like a deeper, richer, piney, bitter flavor. Lots of stuff going on. The other reason people might like this is because if you're trying to ease your way out of vodka and into gin, I think this is kind of a good way to do it. If you go straight to a gin martini, it might be a little bit too much for you. Getting used to the idea of the way gin tastes. I know it took me a while. Not that it masks it necessarily. It's just there's so many flavors going on, kind of gets you used to gets you used to a combination of different flavors. Isn't that a cute martini glass? This martini glass was made by our friend Kristen Page. She's fantastic. Hi, Kristen. She hand painted these things. It's amazing. So cute. So wonderful. So that's all. That's a perfect martini. Whether you're a perfectionist or not, I hope you like this perfect martini. Thank you so much for watching Harry Has a Cocktail. And hey, maybe I'll see you out at the Bucks County Playhouse where I'm playing God. Come check it out. Cheers.